Commander Eric Freeman stood at the viewport, his face tight with worry. The stars beyond the glass were beautiful, but he could not enjoy them. Not today. Not when 3 more Graxian warships had just appeared above Lumina 9. "How many does that make now?" he asked. Lisa Warren looked up from her data screen. Her blue uniform was wrinkled after 30 hours without rest. 17 warships, Commander, plus their support vessels. Eric rubbed his tired eyes. The Luminary Defense Council room buzzed with quiet panic. Maps and screens showed the same bad news from all sides. The Graxian Empire was closing in. Defense Station 4 just went dark, called out a young officer from across the room. Eric walked to the main display. The orbital map now showed only 3 functioning defense stations. Yesterday, there had been 7. Last week, 12. "They're picking us off one by one," Lisa said as she joined him. She lowered her voice. "Sir, I've run the numbers again. At this rate, we have less than 2 weeks before total collapse." Eric nodded. The Luminary were peaceful. Their world was known for its art, music, and science. Their cities shimmered with crystal towers that caught the light of their twin suns. But they were not warriors. Their defense systems were basic, designed to handle space debris and the occasional pirate. Not a full Graxian invasion force. "The Council of Elders is meeting now," Eric said. "They still believe we can negotiate." Lisa's laugh was bitter. "The Graxians don't negotiate. They take." Across the galaxy, aboard the massive Graxian command ship, General Vorks strode along a walkway overlooking the bridge. Below him, officers worked at their stations, their scaled skin reflecting the red lighting. "Status report," Vorks demanded. An officer stood. "We've disabled 4 more of their orbital defenses, General. Their ground-to-space weapons are ineffective against our shields. As predicted, the Luminary resistance is minimal." Vorks smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Excellent. Their crystal cities will make fine trophies for the Emperor." "There is one strange development," the officer continued. "We detected a signal burst from the planet's surface. Long range, directed away from our usual territories. A distress call." Vorks asked, suddenly alert. "Yes, but it appears to have been sent toward an undeveloped sector. No spacefaring civilizations of note there." Vorks waved a clawed hand dismissively. "It doesn't matter. No one will come. No one ever does." Back on Lumina 9, Eric stood in the underground bunker where the last communication array still functioned. The message had been sent hours ago, but he kept returning to this spot, as if his presence might somehow speed the signal to its destination. "You really think they'll help?" Lisa asked from the doorway. "I don't know," Eric admitted. "Earth is far, very far, and we know so little about them." "They might not even get our message," Lisa said. "They might not," Eric agreed. "But the old trading logs say humans are different. They're creative, unpredictable. They're also primitive by Graxian standards," Lisa reminded him. "The Graxians dismissed them as not worth conquering decades ago." Outside, the evening sky flashed with distant explosions as another defense station fell. The beautiful purple sunset was marred by smoke and fire. "We need a miracle," Lisa whispered. Eric watched the darkening sky through a narrow window. "Then let's hope humans specialize in those." Far away, racing through the void between stars, the Luminary distress signal continued its journey toward Earth. It carried coordinates, data about the Graxian fleet, and a simple message: "Help us. We are dying. You may be next." Admiral Susan Reynolds stood with her hands behind her back, watching the giant screen. The distress signal from Lumina 9 played again, its alien words now translated to English. "Help us. We are dying. You may be next." The room was silent. North American Space Command's underground base rarely saw such a gathering of high-ranking officers. They all watched the signal data, the maps of the Graxian fleet positions, the images of a beautiful crystal world under attack. "How long have we known about these Graxians?" asked one general. Susan's face remained calm. Our deep space monitors first detected their activities 23 years ago. We've been watching silently ever since. And building, added another officer. Susan nodded. And building. For decades, Earth had seemed alone in the galaxy. Then came the discovery of distant signals, alien ships, whole empires rising and falling among the stars. Earth had made a choice then, to watch, to learn, and to prepare, all in secret. The Luminary don't know what we've become, Susan said. No one does. The Graxians dismissed us as primitive decades ago. They have no idea what's waiting for them. She turned to a tall man with the bearing of a natural leader. Captain Murphy, the U.S. Valiant is yours. Take the first response fleet and show these Graxians what humans can do. Captain Alan Murphy saluted. Yes, Admiral. 2 hours later, Alan stood on the bridge of the U.S. Valiant, Earth's most advanced battleship. It had never been tested in real combat. No human ship had. Pre-jump checks complete, Captain, reported Olivia Garcia, his tactical officer. Her fingers flew over the controls. All ships report ready. Alan looked at the fleet information on his screen. 5 battleships, 12 destroyers, 30 fighter squadrons, Earth's first interstellar combat force. You look worried, Garcia, he said. Olivia nodded. The Graxians have more ships and better technology, according to the Luminary data. We're outmatched. On paper, maybe, Alan replied. But they've never fought humans before. Olivia smiled. I've been working on an insertion strategy. It's unconventional, but it might give us the edge we need. Alan leaned closer to see her tactical display. Show me. As the fleet prepared, Dr. Kevin Chen addressed the troops in the Valiant's main hangar. Hundreds of men and women in combat gear listened as screens showed images of the Luminary people. They look almost human, Kevin explained, but their biology is quite different. Their skin has a purple tone due to different blood chemistry. They breathe our air but need more moisture. Most importantly, they're peaceful by nature. Their brains don't process violence the way ours do. A Marine raised his hand. So why are we risking our lives for them, Doc? Good question, Kevin said. 3 reasons. First, they're the good guys here. Second, their technology, especially in medicine and energy, could help Earth enormously. And third, we need allies out there. Kevin showed a new image on the screen, a Graxian warrior, tall and reptilian with armored scales and sharp teeth. The Graxians have conquered 12 worlds in the last 50 years. If they succeed at Lumina 9, who do you think they'll look at next? They dismissed us before, but once they notice our technological advancement, we'll be on their list. In his quarters, Alan looked at a photo of his family before putting it away in his pocket. The ship's intercom buzzed. Captain to the bridge. Jump preparations are complete. Alan took one last look around his room, then headed for the bridge. The corridors were busy with crew making final preparations. Everyone knew what was at stake. On the bridge, Olivia stood ready at her station. All ships report ready for hyperspace jump, sir. Alan took his command chair and opened a channel to the fleet. This is Captain Murphy. Today, humanity steps onto the galactic stage, not as explorers, but as defenders. The Luminary need us, and maybe someday we'll need them. Let's show the galaxy what humans are made of. He nodded to his navigator. Take us to Lumina 9. The stars stretched into lines of light as the first human battle fleet in history leaped toward a distant war. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Lumina system. The ships instantly activated their stealth systems, becoming nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. On the bridge of the lead scout ship, Lieutenant Jack Nelson whistled softly as his screen showed the situation around Lumina 9. Captain, you need to see this, he said into his comm. The images were transmitted to the U.S. Valiant. Captain Murphy and his officers watched in grim silence. The beautiful planet was surrounded by Graxian warships. On the surface, Columns of smoke rose from what had once been cities. "Their outer settlements are gone," Jack reported. "The Graxians are methodical. They destroy everything in their path." Alan Murphy's jaw tightened. "Proceed with Phase 1. All scout ships, gather intel. Main fleet, maintain stealth position." On the surface of Lumina 9, Maya Krell pointed her scanner toward the sky. The young luminary scientist had been tracking atmospheric disturbances for days, hoping to find patterns in the Graxian attack strategy. Instead, her device showed something new. "That's strange," she said, adjusting the settings. The readings made no sense. Multiple objects had just appeared at the edge of the system, then seemingly vanished. Not like Graxian ships at all. She hurried back to the underground shelter where the remaining luminary resistance had gathered. Commander Freeman and Lisa Warren bent over a map, planning their next move. "I picked up unusual readings," Maya told them, showing her scanner. "Something entered the system, but it doesn't match Graxian signatures." Eric Freeman looked up, hope flashing in his eyes. "Could it be?" "Don't," Lisa warned. "Don't get your hopes up." Above the planet's night side, a small human dropship slipped through the Graxian patrols. Inside, Sergeant Dwayne Harris and his team checked their gear. They were the first humans who would set foot on an alien world in combat. "Remember," Dwayne said to his team, "we find the luminary resistance, establish contact, and relay intel back to the fleet. No engagement with Graxian forces unless absolutely necessary." The ship landed silently in a forested area. The team moved out, their advanced armor blending with the shadows. The twin moons of Lumina 9 cast strange light across the landscape. In the distance, fires burned in what had once been a luminary settlement. After 2 hours of careful movement, they detected signs of life in a hidden valley. Their thermal scanners showed a cave entrance, heavily disguised but guarded by several figures. "Those aren't Graxians," whispered Specialist Nicole Baker, studying her scanner. "Must be luminary." As they approached, the guards spotted them. There was a moment of panic, with the luminary raising unfamiliar weapons and shouting in their language. Dwayne raised his hand slowly. "We come in peace. We're from Earth." The luminary guards looked confused, not understanding. Nicole Baker stepped forward. She had been studying the luminary language from the data included in their distress signal. "Peace," she tried in their language, the word sounding strange on her human tongue. "Help. Earth." The guards lowered their weapons slightly, but remained suspicious. One spoke rapidly into a communication device. Minutes later, 2 figures emerged from the cave. Dwayne recognized them from the briefing materials. Commander Freeman and his second, Lisa Warren. Eric stared at the humans in amazement. "You came," he said in heavily accented English. "You actually came." Nicole smiled. "We received your message." "How did you get past the Graxian patrols?" Lisa asked, still suspicious. "We have technology they haven't seen before," Dwayne explained. "Our fleet is in position around your planet, but hidden for now." Eric's face showed the first real hope in days. "You have a fleet?" "Yes," Nicole said, "and we have a plan to save your world." Maya Krell pushed through the gathering crowd of luminary, her scanner still in hand. "So that's what my readings showed. Your ships." As the humans were led into the underground base, Lisa whispered to Eric, "These humans crossed the stars to help us. People they've never even met." Eric nodded. "Perhaps we were right to hope after all." Inside the base, luminary civilians stared at the first humans they had ever seen. And for the first time since the Graxian invasion began, they dared to believe they might survive. The main chamber of the luminary underground base buzzed with activity. Captain Alan Murphy had arrived with more officers after the initial contact team secured the area. Now, humans and luminary worked side by side at makeshift planning tables. In the center of the room, a holographic display showed the Graxian fleet positions above the planet. Alan studied it carefully while Commander Eric Freeman pointed out the main Graxian command centers on the surface. They've taken over our capital city and converted our central tower into their headquarters, Eric explained. General Vorks directs everything from there. Maya Krell added, they've also set up jamming stations here, and here. She pointed to 3 locations on the map. That's why we can't communicate with our people in other regions. Alen nodded. We noticed the jamming when we arrived. It's advanced, but different from our systems. Different how? Lisa Warren asked. Lieutenant Commander Paul Wright stepped forward. The electronic warfare specialist had been quietly analyzing the Graxian technology since their arrival. The Graxians rely on quantum-locked communication channels, Paul explained. It makes their signals nearly impossible to intercept or jam using their own technology. But not yours? Eric asked. Paul smiled. We developed along different technological lines on Earth. Our approach to electronic warfare is unconventional by galactic standards. He tapped on his tablet, and a holographic display changed to show a new battle plan. We can use our EMP technology to temporarily disable their communications, Paul continued. Their systems have no protection against it because they never developed it themselves. Maya looked impressed. Your people took a completely different path in technology development. Necessity and isolation, Alan explained. We thought we were alone in the galaxy for a long time. We had to solve our problems our own way. Paul outlined his plan. The human fleet would launch a coordinated EMP strike against the Graxian ships, temporarily disabling their communications. At the same time, ground forces would target the jamming stations. With their command structure in chaos, we can land our main troops and take back key facilities, Paul concluded. The luminary leaders looked at each other with uncertainty. It could work, Eric said slowly. But our people aren't fighters. We can guide you, but we don't expect you to fight, Alan assured him. Your knowledge of the terrain and facilities is what we need most. Lisa Warren stood up. I'll guide your ground forces. I know the underground passages beneath the city. We can approach the jamming stations undetected. Eric looked surprised. Lisa, I was security chief before I was your second in command, she reminded him. I know what I'm doing. Elen nodded. Thank you. As the meeting continued, Maya took a human officer aside to show him the city plans. Suddenly, she stopped. Wait, she said. There's something you should know about the central tower where Vorks is headquartered. She pulled up images of the Crystal Tower, its beautiful architecture now marred by Graxian modifications. This was our most sacred site, she explained. The crystals that form it are connected to similar formations all across our planet. They're part of what makes our world special, a cultural landmark, the officer said, nodding. More than that, Maya continued. If the tower is destroyed, it could destabilize similar formations worldwide. The environmental damage would be catastrophic. This news spread quickly through the command team. Their plan would need to be precise. Disable the Graxians without destroying the tower. As night fell, final preparations were made. Human troops checked their weapons while luminary guides memorized routes. Supply drops from the human fleet provided the resistance with food and medicine. In a quiet corner, Alan spoke with Eric. Your people sent a distress call into the dark, not knowing if anyone would answer, Alan said. That took courage. Eric looked at the humans busily preparing for battle. I still can't believe you came. On Earth, we have a saying, Alan replied. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Tomorrow, Eric said, we will do something. Outside, the twin moons of Lumina 9 rose over a world poised between destruction and salvation. The end had been near, but now human troops were here. Dawn broke over Lumina 9, but the light barely penetrated the smoke-filled sky. In orbit, the Graxian fleet maintained its blockade, unaware of what was about to happen. Captain Alan Murphy stood on the bridge of the U.S. Valiant, watching the final countdown. All ships report ready, Captain, Olivia Garcia said from her tactical station. EMP weapons charge. Alan took a deep breath. Send the signal. Operation Daybreak begins now. Throughout the fleet, human ships dropped their stealth fields and powered up weapons. The Graxians, caught completely by surprise, scrambled to respond. Before they could organize, the human fleet fired. But there were no explosions, no destructive beams. Instead, powerful electromagnetic pulses washed over the Graxian vessels. Ship after ship went dark as their systems failed. On the Graxian command ship, General Vorks roared in anger as screens went black and communications died. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Who is attacking us?" "Unknown vessels, sir," an officer reported, working at a backup terminal. "They appeared out of nowhere." "Impossible." Vorks slammed his fist down. "Get our systems back online." On the planet's surface, Sergeant Dwayne Harris led his squad through the burning capital city. Lissa Warren moved ahead of them, guiding them through back streets and hidden passages. Luminary civilians watched from hiding places as human soldiers passed by. "First jamming station is 2 blocks ahead," Lisa whispered. "Heavily guarded." Dwayne signaled his team to spread out. They moved with practiced precision, their armor and weapons unlike anything seen before on Lumina 9. The Graxian guards at the jamming station were confused by the communications blackout. When human soldiers appeared from 3 directions at once, they'd barely had time to react. "First target secured," Dwayne reported as his team took control of the station. "Beginning Phase 2. In another part of the city, Chief Medical Officer Laura Wilson set up a field hospital in an abandoned building. Wounded humans and Luminary were brought in as the fighting spread. Laura worked quickly, adapting her medical knowledge to treat Luminary patients. "Their blood doesn't clot like ours," she told her medical team. "Use the blue gel for their wounds." A young Luminary with a burned arm watched in wonder as Laura treated him. "Why are you helping us?" he asked. "You don't even know us." Laura smiled as she wrapped his arm. "Because it's the right thing to do." Back in orbit, the U.S. Valiant led the assault against the largest Graxian vessels. The human ships were smaller but faster, using tactics the Graxians had never seen before. "They're trying to adapt to our EMP attacks," Olivia reported, bringing secondary shields online. Alan nodded. "Just as we expected. Switch to focused ion beams. Target their power nodes." The battle shifted again as human ships changed tactics, keeping the Graxians off balance and confused. On the surface, the second jamming station fell to human troops. Communications began to clear across the region as Luminary resistance fighters joined the humans. But in the crystal tower at the center of the capital, General Vorks watched the battle through backup systems. His scaled face twisted with rage. "If we cannot have this world, no one will," he hissed. "Prepare the core destabilizer." His second-in-command looked alarmed. "General, that will destroy the entire planet." "Then so be it," Vorks replied. "The Emperor will understand. These humans have left us no choice." As the battle raged across the city and in orbit, neither the humans nor the Luminary knew that a countdown had begun. A countdown to the planet's destruction. Maya Krell, monitoring energy readings from the resistance base, suddenly sat up straight. Her scanner showed a massive power buildup beneath the crystal tower. "Something's wrong," she said, her voice shaking. "Very wrong." The battle for Lumina 9 had begun well, but the worst was yet to come. Lieutenant Commander Paul Wright hunched over his equipment in the Luminary base. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he worked to break into the Graxian command network. Around him, human and Luminary technicians monitored the battle. "I'm in," Paul suddenly announced. Their security protocols are complex but predictable. The screens around him filled with Graxian data, ship positions, troop movements, and command communications. For the first time, the humans had complete access to enemy plans. "Send this to Captain Murphy immediately," Paul ordered, "and get me a direct line to Surgeon Harris." Across the city, Specialist Nicole Baker worked alongside Luminary technicians in a captured communications center. Her linguistic skills had improved rapidly, allowing her to understand more of the luminary language. "These readings don't make sense," she said, looking at energy data from the crystal tower. "Unless—" She called Maya Krell over, pointing to the screen. "Could this be some kind of weapon?" Maya's eyes widened. "Not just any weapon. These energy signatures match our planet's core frequency. They're building a destabilizer." "What would that do?" Nicole asked, though she feared she already knew. "It would shatter our planet from within," Maya explained, her voice trembling. "The core would become unstable, causing massive earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and eventually, total destruction," Nicole finished. "How long do we have?" Maya performed quick calculations. 3 hours, maybe less. Nicole immediately contacted command. "We have an emergency situation." On the U.S. Valiant, Captain Murphy received the information from both Paul and Nicole. The battle in space was going well. The human fleet had disabled or destroyed half the Graxian ships. But this new threat changed everything. "We need to redirect our focus," Alan told his officers. "The space battle is secondary now. We need a team to infiltrate that tower and stop the destabilizer." "The tower is heavily guarded," Olivia pointed out, "and we need someone who understands the planet's core technology." Ellen made a quick decision. "Contact Corporal Frank Martinez. He's our best demolitions expert. And get Maya Krell up here. We'll need her knowledge." Within 30 minutes, a special team assembled on the Valiant. Corporal Martinez, a stocky man with steady hands and calm eyes, reviewed the tower schematics with Maya. "The destabilizer will be connected to the crystal matrix at the tower's base," Maya explained. "It's using our own planetary network against us." "Can we just destroy it?" Frank asked. Maya shook her head. "Not safely. It needs to be disconnected in a specific sequence, or it could trigger prematurely." Frank nodded. "Then we'll do it by the book." "Your book." As they prepared to deploy, Alan spoke to Sergeant Harris via comm. "Dwayne, we need a diversion. Something big enough to draw forces away from the tower." "I think we can arrange that, Captain," Dwayne replied. "Ever heard of the Trojan horse?" While Frank and Maya's team prepared for their critical mission, Sergeant Harris implemented his plan. Human troops captured a Graxian transport vehicle and filled it with soldiers. Lissa Warren showed them how to approach the tower using service tunnels. At the same time, Paul Wright used his access to the Graxian network to create false alarms across the city, drawing enemy forces into carefully planned ambushes. In orbit, the battle intensified as the Graxians realized humans had access to their communications. They switched to the backup systems and regrouped, focusing their attack on the Valiant. "They've identified us as the command ship," Olivia reported as the ship shook from a direct hit. "Good," Alan replied calmly. "Keep their attention up here. Our people on the ground need time." Inside the Crystal Tower, General Vorks received reports of multiple human attacks across the city. His forces were stretched thin, confused by changing tactics and false information. "The destabilizer countdown cannot be stopped," he ordered. "Post our elite guards at the core chamber. No one gets in." Unknown to him, Frank and Maya's team was already beneath the tower, moving through ancient maintenance tunnels that the Graxians had never discovered. Maya led the way, following paths known only to luminary scientists. "We're almost there," she whispered, "but we'll need time to disable the device." Frank checked his watch. "According to our intel, we have 47 minutes before this planet cracks like an egg. Then we better not waste time," Maya said, her determination matching that of her human allies. The fate of Lumina 9 now rested on this small team reaching the core chamber in time. The core chamber beneath the crystal tower glowed with an eerie blue light. Graxian soldiers guarded a massive device connected to the planet's crystal matrix. Energy pulsed through the connections, growing stronger by the minute. Outside the chamber, Sergeant Harris and his team created their diversion. Explosions rocked the upper levels of the tower, drawing guards away from the core. General Vorks rushed to a communications terminal. "What's happening?" Human forces have breached the main entrance, an officer reported. Impossible. Vorks roared. Send the elite guard to stop them. As troops rushed upward, Frank Martinez, Maya Krell, and their small team emerged from a hidden entrance on the opposite side of the core chamber. They moved silently, taking positions behind equipment banks. Frank signaled to his team. 3 seconds later, stun grenades flashed throughout the room. The remaining Graxian guards fell before they could react. 28 minutes left, Frank announced as they rushed to the destabilizer. Maya immediately began working on the control panel. The sequence is complex. I need time. Time is something we don't have, Frank said, setting up defensive positions with his team. We'll buy you every second we can. Above them, the battle for the tower intensified. Sergeant Harris led Graxian forces on a chase through the upper levels, while Lisa Warren guided another human team toward Vorks' command center. In orbit, the U.S. Valiant took heavy damage, but continued to lead the human fleet. Captain Murphy received updates from the ground teams. They've reached the core, Olivia reported, but Graxian reinforcements are closing in. Keep their ships occupied, Alan ordered. Our people need just a little more time. In the core chamber, Maya worked frantically while Frank's team defended the entrances. The first wave of Graxian reinforcements arrived, and gunfire echoed through the chamber. A blast hit nearby, showering them with debris. Frank moved to protect Maya, taking the hit to his armor. You okay? Maya asked without looking up. Just a scratch, Frank replied, firing back at the attackers. Keep working. In the command center, General Vorks realized what was happening. They're trying to stop the destabilizer. He grabbed a weapon. I'll handle this myself. As he headed for the core, he met unexpected resistance. Lisa Warren and a team of human soldiers. In the core chamber, Maya finally cracked the sequence. Got it. I need to disconnect these 3 nodes simultaneously. Frank and 2 soldiers moved to the position she indicated. On your mark. 3, 2, 1. Now. They pulled the connectors. The energy flow stuttered, then stopped. The ominous hum of the destabilizer faded. Is it done? Frank asked. Maya checked her scanner. Yes. The core is stabilizing. A slow clap echoed through the chamber. They turned to see General Vorks, wounded but still dangerous, entering through a side door. Impressive, he said, but futile. My fleet will still destroy this world. I don't think so, Frank replied. Look up. On Vorks' communicator, reports streamed in of a new human fleet arriving in the system. Admiral Reynolds had brought reinforcements. The Graxian ships, already battered by the first wave of human attacks, began to retreat. Without the general's leadership, their coordination collapsed. In the core chamber, Vorks looked at the humans with new understanding and fear. What are you people? Just humans, Frank said, doing what humans do, helping those who need it. In the days that followed, the remaining Graxian forces were driven from Lumina 9. The crystal cities began to rebuild, with human aid providing support and protection. Captain Murphy and Commander Freeman established the foundation of a new alliance. The Luminary offered to share their cultural and artistic knowledge, while Earth promised military protection. As the U.S. Valiant prepared to return home, Admiral Reynolds addressed the crew. What you've done here has changed the galaxy. The Graxians now know that Earth is a force to be reckoned with, and other worlds have taken notice. Maya Krell, now appointed as Luminary Ambassador to Earth, stood on the observation deck with Alan Murphy. My people thought we were alone against the darkness, she said. We never imagined humans would cross the stars to save us. Ellen smiled. That's what humans do. We stand up for what's right, even when it's difficult. Across the galaxy, news spread quickly. The previously unknown humans had emerged as defenders of freedom. The Graxian Empire paused its expansion plans. Other subjugated species looked to Earth with new hope. And on Lumina 9, Professor Jax, the chief historian, began recording what would become known throughout the stars as the turning point of Lumina 9, the day when the end was near, and then human troops landed.